45. Brown, 45. Hot, 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 hot.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, Australia.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Australia podcast, the number one podcast in at least 3 households, 1 studio, American Football Australia head office, NFL Australia head office, worldwide, Danny boy. We are growing. Joining us, as always, in his palace that is the Western Wing at Danny Webb, AGSAU. How are you, mate?
Oh, man, what a game. Oh, what a game. What a week of football. Every game was a game. So 11 games within one score within the fourth quarter, 8 of which were decided by 7 points or less, and 5 teams with game-winning scores within the final 2 minutes. What a day.
What a day. And last week I really muddled up the stat, but it's grown. We're up to 66 games in the first 8 weeks, and this one I know is a record. It's set. It is an NFL history record, 66 games with 7 points or less to start the season. It's what we love. It's such a tight season for so many reasons.
It's what we've been asking for as well. Like, as much as the Chiefs are still dominating, and we'll get to them a little bit later on in the app, we want a close league. We want teams. We want upsets. We want the Any Given Sunday game of the week. We want that to be hot, and we want it to be hot all the time.
I like that you bring that up nice and early. I did get the win with that one. Thank you very much. Nice $2.15 pick up there with the Washington Commanders. I was going to say Redskins. The Commanders are very late, very interesting game, which again we're going to talk about. But the one I actually waking up and watching the last 10, 15 minutes of Jameis Winston and the Browns, they come out and absolutely balled against the Ravens to upset their, I reckon, 4-game winning streak, the Ravens.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly whether it's 4 or 5, but more importantly, the Browns celebrate them ending a 5-game losing streak. Yeah. Because obviously we all know now Watson equals no wins. So without him, you got to get some wins on the board. Winston, on the other hand, did something that Watson hasn't been able to do yet. So he scored the most points so far this season for the Browns. And he also threw over 300 yards, which is something Watson hasn't done in his 19 starts for the Browns. Wild scenes. And obviously to upset the Ravens in the fashion that they did, it was an incredible game.
Yeah, no, I had a few Ravens people message me and just say, look, they show up. They always seem to show up. We should have picked it that the Browns were going to show up for this game. Even if they had lost, it would have been a tight loss. But I don't think anyone really thought that they were actually going to come out and compete. But Jameis Winston, he is such a... I don't know how much you've actually seen of him. I know ESPN do a fair bit about him because he's a bit of an odd unit. Some of his speeches that he comes up with and one-liners, he's hilarious, really, when you watch him. But yeah, I think they've got to find a way to get out of that Deshaun Watson contract and, mate, stick with Winston for the moment.
Yeah, so Winston and the Cleveland Browns were one of these teams that, got the final score within, I think he threw a 38-yard touchdown pass to Tillman with 59 seconds remaining to seal the deal. And then the Browns defense managed to hold off Lamar as he had multiple attempts at the end zone within the Cleveland's 24-yard line. It was a perfect Any Given Sunday game. And as you said, we probably should have looked at the Browns because they do always show up. Even Lamar said it himself. He said, well, at the end of the day, this is the NFL. Any team can go out and win any given day. And I was like, any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday. That would have been a perfect little plug. But yeah, no, it was good to watch. Good for them. And just makes it a little bit more interesting at the top with the Ravens, which I think a lot of people the last 2 or 3 weeks have said, it's Super Bowl or bust for those guys.
Well, anytime you go out and pick up the best running back in the league to add to your best rushing quarterback, you'd expect him to be up there in Super Bowl conversations.
He did score again as well, which we did have on and collected. I know it's only down to about $1.50 now, but you're not going to go break making a profit, mate.
No, and we'll end up seeing like those CMC odds towards the end of last year where it was like $1.15 and $1.10. But until then, going to keep on smashing it until it gives us a reason not to. I'm glad you brought up the betting. It's not even in the segment, but another profitable day for us. Another plus 5 unit day that we jumped on and very, very, very close to a plus 20 unit day.
Yeah. So those, again, just a quick one. We've been going down the track of building our multi, but then betting individually, because how many times, Danny boy, how many times do you lose by one leg and then the whole multi stuffed where
multis aren't for us. Multis are for betting companies, and it's the best thing that they ever created was the same game multi or the parlay, depending on what country you're in.
where you are.
But they realistically only help betting companies and not really help us. So that's why we're backing everything individually to keep on growing that bank as we try and make bank.
Yeah. So work out what your units are. Put a unit each on the individual legs, and then a half of a unit. If you're betting $10, put $5 on the multi. If it gets up, great. If it doesn't, you've still made 2 or 3 units out of the rest of them. So that's working. Let's stick at it, and we'll make a multi for tomorrow's game later on. The Lions should have bet on this game, mate. They dropped 50 on the Titans and remain number 1 in the NFC. Although, looking at the stats, it wasn't actually an outrageously good game for probably punting on, really, because Goff didn't throw too many. I think they had a 90-yard punt return for a score, so betting on the special teams would have been a good one, but not a great win, but they still dropped 50.
Yeah, so they still go out and absolutely get it done. They were just firing on all cylinders. Like, it was one of the highest scoring games in Lions franchise history. So 5 different Lions scored in the first half. The defense forced 4 turnovers. They were just getting it done absolutely everywhere. And the Lions now are averaging 40-plus points over the past 4 games. Turns out they didn't miss Williams all that much.
Nah, yeah, Williams, just rest up and be healthy for the last half of the season, mate, because they didn't need you. But you're right, the defense was just all over them. I just watched a little bit of the game, and there was at points they weren't even defending the defensive line. They were just running straight through, and I don't know how many, but I reckon there was a few sacks today. Like, they would have been out there absolutely eating.
Oh, man, they were. And, like, the Titans were going up without Will Levis, so they had Rudolph in there, had 4 turnovers. Like, any team that puts up 4 turnovers is going to get blown out, and that's just
when you're losing the turnover battle is never a good start. New York, mate, they have come out. I couldn't believe this when I saw this score. They've come out and they've lost to the Patriots. The Patriots, everyone have said this year, is rebuilding. They're looking for the next 2 or 3 years. New head coach, blah 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 blah. 2-5, they're actually equaled with New York,
and they did it without Drake May. So they moved on to playing, like, having Drake May as their starter, and then he gets a concussion really early on, and still win. And the Patriots still won. I think the Jets organization really need to give a little apology to Rob Saleh. Turns out, it wasn't his fault. That's their 5th straight loss. And then went out and got Devontae Adams. But Rodgers' favorite target, still Wilson. Like, I think Adams only got targeted 4 times. Yeah, he had a few yards, and if he had taken that last play out of bounds, it might have had a little bit of a different story. Maybe the Jets could have gone down and actually scored in those final seconds. Who knows? We'll never know because the clock ran dead. But they were on a charge to try and score on that final drive. The Jets should not be trying to beat the Patriots on the final drive, though. That's the issue.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I woke up and I thought, I wonder it's more Jets by how much, but Patriots just they did enough to hang around, and then, like you said, were they one of the teams that went up with moments to go, and it was more than enough. But they have had a pretty solid defense. They got called soft during the week, which never helps any team. I think it probably did help them because they come out and dominated them up front. But for the first part of the season, they were actually pretty solid on defense. They just weren't able to score, the Patriots. But, 25, I think it was 25-22. So 25 points, obviously enough if your defense is getting on top of them, keeping them to those 22, 21 points.
Mate, just getting it done. Absolutely getting it done.
The biggest game besides the Ravens and the Browns was the rookie battle that you were hyping up pretty well on our Saturday episode that we accidentally had to do. And it lived up to all those expectations and the hype and the finish. If you haven't seen the finish, go and watch the finish because it is every bit as impressive as the rest of the game. But as far as the rest of the game, I think it did live up to what we're expecting, 1 versus 2, and we're happy that Daniels actually got out there. And a good one for us because, well, not so much. This is the one we're battling. Not as good for you because the Commanders got up. Pretty good for me because the Bears got done.
Yeah, so technically you won this game. Incredible battle. It was so good to see Jaden Daniels actually get out there. It was a game time decision on his ribs whether he was actually going to play or not. So the fact that he actually got it out there and got it done. And like you said, it was an incredible back and forth battle. You know, they're both going, it was relatively low scoring, but then they're both going up there and still kind of getting stuff done, getting within field goal and just pushing the envelope enough. The Commanders actually had a 3% probability of winning before Daniels threw that Hail Mary. So there was a touchdown pass that he threw to Noah Brown where he scrambled for 13 seconds before he actually threw the ball. And now Daniels becomes the second player since 1970 to throw a 50-yard game-winning touchdown pass.
Yep. And he, like you said, the 13 seconds, shout out to his front line. I know they had 2 or 3 rushing, but to be able to still hold him off. Number 29 for the Bears. I don't quite have his name, but he made a little bit of a dick of himself, and there's been a viral video going around of him chirping at the crowd, and the ball's already been snapped. Like you can see from the end zone looking backwards, and then he goes, "Oh shit, I better get to where I need to." He did get a hand on the ball, but deflected it straight to Noah Brown for that game-winning score.
If you're going to deflect a ball, spike it towards the ground. Do not pump it up in the air. And I think it was more of a panic. I just got to get in there because I was completely making a dick of myself, chirping at the crowd. And then, for him to go and throw a hand up, accidentally push it up higher in the air, make it a perfect in the basket for Noah Brown. Yeah, that man's getting benched.
He's going to, I think that'll be the very much Tuesday or whenever they go and do their meetings, it's going to be on the screen going, what the fuck have you just done? Because, let's secure the win. Then by all means chirp if you need to, but go and get the W first because, look, there was a 3% chance and they obviously took the most of it. Everything I've seen, they said Noel Brown, and I couldn't tell you who was at the front, but played it well, How often do people go up and fly and it just falls over the back and there's no one there? So they said good coaching to make sure that they had one at the front, one at the back for that exact reason. And, it showed off. And good on the Commanders. Now 6-2 leading your NFC East, mate.
Yeah, they haven't had their bye week yet, though. So maybe once they have their bye week, we might be up there equal with them. The Birds, that is. They're looking like a tough team to beat, though. 6-2 is nothing to sneeze at. And Jaden Daniels is just going out there and just proving he's the one. He's the one for the Commanders.
My Packers are 6-2, and I'm chirping.
Yeah, mate, you'd be chirping if your Packers were 1-2,
yeah.
6-2.
We were 1-2, I'm pretty sure, and we did.
You're always chirping.
Have you guys played them yet?
Negative.
So that'll be an interesting one because it looks like the Cowboys, they did lose again today, so they're kind of falling off. Looks like it's a race of 2 between you guys. So when you guys come up against each other, that'll be the one that really kind of shows who's going to be pushing forward. So this will be like the 25th year in a row that the NFC East is not going to have a back-to-back champion.
Well, whoa. The Eagles will be the first back-to-back.
You didn't win it last year.
Oh, yeah, that's right. No, we didn't.
No, so the Cowboys won it, you idiot.
Yeah, but whoever expected, you look at the Cowboys now, I've forgotten how the Cowboys could have possibly have ever won anything with the way that they've been playing.
Yeah, they were bad today. Well, they weren't that bad, but they weren't great either. We've got a couple of big wins. Eagles, Falcons, Bills, Packers. They're all kind of keeping pace with their division or leading their division in the Falcons and the Bills. Which of those kind of games stood out for you, mate?
I am going to do a U and put on my little homer hat for this one. I got to talk about these Eagles because their defense has finally switched on and they're finally playing, competitively on the defensive end of the ball. So Joey B went out and actually played relatively well until the second half. So the defense have finally learned that if they go out and it's not working, to adjust and actually start to play better. But Joey B still threw for 234 yards, had 1 touchdown, had 1 interception. We managed to sack him once. We could only put 17 points on the board. So the ability that now on 3rd and 4th downs, when Joey B was actually going for it on 4th, the Eagles defense can finally stop him, which is something we haven't really seen I'd say, in almost 2 years since our Super Bowl run where we went up and lost against the Chiefs. So it's good to finally see that they're actually all clicking again. Hurts just doing Jalen Hurts things, push, tush, rushing for touchdowns, throwing for touchdowns. Had an absolute blinder of a pass to Devontae Smith again in the end zone. Just another Hail Mary. Just because it was on second down, but it was 2nd and 3. But yeah, let's just throw a Hail Mary straight down to the end zone. It's obviously I'm talking as a fan of the Eagles, but also just as them as a team. It's nice to see them playing winning football and also winning games. So for all of last year, we're 10-0. We weren't playing winning football. We were just winning games. It's nice to see that they've actually are playing competitively again. And one of the leagues that we did hit today was Saquon Barkley overs for his rushing receiving. And I said to you before we hopped on this episode, we're hitting that every single week from now on. That man is an absolute beast. He had 111 yards, total scrimmage yards again today. Man's unstoppable.
Until they give us a reason not to hit it, we're going to hit it. Like I said to you last week, you weren't as confident, but getting that win and realistically holding the Giants to only 3 points, again, it's only the Giants, but the fact that you were able to do that, you can only beat who you're going to play, really. So just the fact that you were winning without playing your best football, just, ticking along, finally start to turn that corner, and it does look like that you guys, just go on a bit of a trot here and then, set yourself up and take on the Commanders, mate, because it's you versus them.
Mate, I can't wait. Can't wait for that matchup. I think with the Eagles as well, they need to have these sort of wins and then have them back to back. They build momentum, and once their momentum builds, then they end up playing a heap better. And it looks like the continuity's there. The continuity's finally back, which is great. Just another thing to note on this game, this was I think it was the first NFL matchup between the two identical twins, Chase and Sidney Brown. So Chase Brown playing for the Bengals and Sidney Brown for the Eagles, which incredible. So yeah shout out to them.
Nice little. We'll get them on the podcast together, and it'll be nice to have a little chat. But a couple other big wins. The Bills had a great win against the Seahawks. Just controlled the game. Sorry if you wanted to keep going, but we can't talk Eagles for too much. Bills just dominated the Eagles. Seahawks. You've thrown me, mate. You've thrown me. And the Falcons getting another win against the Bucs wasn't as impressive as their 500-yard win, 2 or 3 weeks ago, but another divisional win and just keeping them on top. My Packers getting the job done. Jordan Love did go out in the third with a groin strain, which doesn't look good, but Malik Willis coming in and getting another win. Not great when we've got the Lions next week, but Malik Willis he went 4 from 5 for 50-odd yards. And Josh Jacobs, 25 carries for over 100. So, look, we're settling into a nice little groove. And Jags, I don't want to say it just because it was the Packers, but I think that was actually the best they've played all season. They actually...
Well, you won in the final minute, your final seconds, as the clock actually ticked down.
Yeah. We played it smart and were able to... That's where Malik Willis hit it was like a 52-yarder or something. It couldn't have been nearly 54 yards. A 30-odd yarder to late in the game to Reed just to set up. And then we just wound the clock, so played it smart. McManus has come in and 2 weeks in a row is 2 game-winning field goals. So, yeah, it's nice. It's good. Tua has made a successful return, mate, and didn't get concussed, which is huge. I think actually slid a couple of times, which, again, is huge for him. But Kyler Murray was actually the winner of the day, over 300 yards, and getting the Cardinals the W just against the Finns. Cardinals are still in it, especially with I think they're technically in the worst division, even though they've got San Fran in there who are just ahead of them. I think it's 3-4. The Rams are 3-4. What are you shaking your head? Are they 4-4?
Yeah, so the Cardinals are 4-4, 49ers are 4-4, and Seahawks are 4-4. But with
the Rams are 3-4.
The Rams are 3-4, yeah. But all the other teams are 4-4 in that division. And at the moment, the Cardinals are sitting on top, just due to however they decide it.
Well, they beat the Niners, so they go ahead of them automatically. So, yeah, I don't think we've given them much credit because they've had a couple of bad losses, but they've had a couple of good wins too. So, Cardinals sneaky outsiders if the Niners can't quite get their shit together.
Yeah, well, I had Cardinals to make the playoffs. I was thinking they were going to make it in a little wild card fashion. But if they take out the division, that's their ticket in. I also don't want that because I've kind of accidentally punted against myself a little bit there. So I've actually picked 49ers to win the division, but also Cardinals to make the playoffs. So I think I'd rather the 49ers because that's in a juicy little multi.
You're sitting pretty, though. Like, this is although a couple of other strong divisions make it hard for you. The Bears losing today helps your Birds actually put your Birds in playoff contention at the moment. But just such a tight. I don't think everyone picked the Niners just to blow them away. And I've had a lot of 49ers fans message me and say we've been 3-4 the past 2 out of the past 3 years and still made the playoffs. But I don't know. This year just feels a bit different. Maybe because of all the injuries and like long-term injuries. CMC, everyone's like, yeah, he'll be back in the next couple of weeks. But when he does come back, he's had no match fitness, obviously. I don't know how much you can actually do when you've got sore Achilles. So, yeah, look, just a bit of an odd feeling about the Niners at the moment. They did have a good win today against the Cowboys. Cowboys made a game of it late, but they kind of just controlled the game, really, especially after halftime. That third quarter, they scored 3 touchdowns. Jordan Mason didn't get on the field after halftime, which actually fucked us, but that's another thing. But yeah, I don't know. A very interesting division to keep an eye on for sure. Chiefs have pretty much sewn up their division, 7-0. It wasn't all smooth sailing though, today's win.
No, the Raiders actually put up a bit of a fight. Mahomes had a few costly turnovers. Gardner Minshew took the ball down the field multiple times and absolutely got the job done. It just didn't look really easy. I think the only major positive to come out for the Chiefs, Kelsey caught his first touchdown pass in something like ridiculous, like 13 games, which isn't really like the Mahomes and Kelsey we've known from the past, but at least he's back on the board. I'm sure T Swizzle would have been thrilled.
National Tight End Day, and they all absolutely balled out. We should have punted on a few of these tight ends, I think. But he did. I reckon he had a 10-plus reception game, Kelsey. So he's one that's getting back into it. Maybe good to a couple of little ladders later in the week. But these teams genuinely hate each other, which is good to see. There was a couple of little scrimmages out there. Spoke to Big Dave from Wallen, as he is on his Instagram, and this morning, and he just said that it's hard to play the Chiefs when Mahomes, you get him in a real tough spot, you'll be tackling him to the ground and he'll somehow flick it out the back of his hand and find Kelsey or, D-Hop now, and they'll take it 30 or 40 yards. Like, they're just still just getting the job done when they need to. And I did see a couple of other pages putting up, are they going to go undefeated this year? And we went through it last week. There's every bloody chance.
Yeah, they got a few. What did we pick? We picked one in like maybe 3 weeks' time.
The Texans. I think they got the Texans shortly, which will be... They had another win today against the Colts after their heartbreaking loss against the Packers last week. So that'll be the interesting one. And then the Bills a few weeks after that.
Yeah, and it's just... The Bills always put up a massive fight against them. But like you're saying, now Mahomes' targets. You got Kelsey Worthy, who had a great game. And now D-Hop as well.
Juju will be back. Yeah. They're only going to keep rolling.
And Kareem Hunt's just a touchdown scoring machine at the moment, which works very well also in our favour.
Another one that's slightly more juicy to keep getting on. Kyron Williams scores week after week. Yeah, but they're just getting the job done. And it's, I think, mainly on the defense. Like, I know you said Gardner, their first drive was the best drive they had all year, the Raiders, for sure. But for the rest of the game, they contained them when they need to. Again, they come back late. I think they scored a late touchdown to make it that 27-20, but they were 2 scores ahead to realistically with not long left. So they were pretty comfortable. It's just big Chris Jones got through the line way too many times, and their defense is what's going to win them another one.
Yeah, did Mahomes, did Gardner get sacked 5 times?
Yeah, it sounds like you're looking at the stats.
Yeah, looks like he got sacked 5 times.
And that's what it's like. I know, I can guarantee I'll watch Jones get through at least once. But even when he doesn't get through, just like TJ Watt, like, he wrecks them on the outside, so somebody else will come through and get the sack. So, yeah, I'm more worried about being other teams on the outside, Eagles and Packers. It's their defense that's going to annihilate other teams. It could be a shit, 20-10 Super Bowl if their defense is the ones that, is the one that gets on top.
Yeah, and the defense just keeps on.
We don't want that.
We don't want that. We want a high-scoring one again.
Oh, yeah.
Let's make it entertaining, and let's make it fun to punt on, too.
Speaking of punting, we've got a game tomorrow, mate. Today, whenever you're listening. The 2-5 Giants against the 5-2 Pittsburgh Steelers. We're just talking about TJ Watt. Pittsburgh have a 5.5. They are favoured by 5.5. I've got to figure out how to say that properly. They're favoured by 5.5. But 70% of people are on the Steelers at $1.36. We said the other day that when there's a line or over 60% of the fans are on, we've been winning a lot. So this feels like a game for the Steelers. It's on them. Whether they win or lose, it's on them. The Giants got held to 3 points against your mob last week. Second start in a row for Russell Wilson, so that confidence coming back. Most passing yards in a Steelers debut ever. And it seems like, I was just going through some stats, it seems like it's the Steelers' rush defense against the Giants' pass defense. Sneaky fifth in the league, Giants. I wouldn't have picked it if you had said. Especially after you put 30 on them last week, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a breakout game for us. We're coming back. We're coming back. No, and I highly think that the Steelers' defense is significantly better than the Eagles. And we've seen that from the past. TJ Watt is an absolute beast. Absolute beast. And if we held him to 3 points, I think that line is definitely smashable for the Steelers. And it's in Pittsburgh as well. So 6 points. Yeah. So it's not even converted touchdown. I'll probably be jumping on that. I'd also be looking at the overs. I think it's at around 36.5. The Steelers put up 36 points on their own last week. So, give the Giants one field goal. If anything, it should probably come out and try and play better than they did the week prior. So maybe even 2 field goals. Then you've got your overs as well. So they're both nice to look at, I would say.
We have put a multi together for this, but like we said, it's the Steelers rushed either. They held Breece Hall to 38 yards on 15 carries last week. He did hurt him he got, I reckon, 8 to 10. Just a little over the top. Rodgers just feeding it to him over the top. But as far as rushing, I'd be staying away from any of the Giants. If you ballsy enough hit their unders are 30. So if you ballsy enough hit that one. But we did put a couple together. Do you have it or you want me to run through them, mate?
You run through them, mate.
All right. So we've got, like we said, Najee. We reckon he's going to dominate their... Oh, it's disappeared. Dominate their rushing. So we've gone Najee over 76, rushing and receiving. Malik Neighbours over 6.5 receptions. George Pickens over 4.5. He had that one game where he only got 3, but every other game he's had 5+. Malik Neighbours only had 4 last week, but coming back from concussion, he'll be back. And we chucked in, because their rush defense is it's 22nd, 23rd in the league, the Giants, put Najee in for a score as well. Bet365, you're getting $13 for it. Put a half a unit on that one, mate, and then bet them all individually. You'll be walking away with some cool cold hard cash, and I reckon this one's a fair chance of getting up too.
Yeah, just like all our others, we'll ride it right to the last leg, and then probably someone will get injured. Just knowing our luck. No. Touch wood. This week's our week. We've actually hit a couple of our juicier ones on the multis, but like we said, yeah, the individual ones are the ones where you're going to keep on building up that bank, and that's why we're at plus. What did I say before?
We'll be
plus 20.
Plus 20 at the moment. Yeah,
plus
that's
20
in
units.
4 weeks.
Yeah,
so we're averaging 5+ units a week, which huge. All started by you, mate. You love this, and our analyst, good old boy Jackie, he's all over it, letting us know how much we're up every week.
Yeah, Jackie Rockard. He's the one. Our number,
I like that.
number one.
I haven't heard that one. That's good.
Our number one analyst. Thank you for all your work as well, because he is another one of your paid employees that is on $0.00 per annum.
You brought him into the group, so you got to take him out of your paycheck, not mine.
We'll cut some off the top. Hey, if we keep on, we're providing all these tips for free as well for everyone out there. So I hope you actually do listen to this point in the podcast and jumping on with us. If not, you can find it on the socials. But as always, gamble responsibly.
And I always look at our Sportsbet feed. We're putting that on that. It's a bit harder with the Bet365. We don't have a feed for that. So if you listen to this, you're cashing in. If you get to this point, they're the ones who listen to this far. You're cashing in and making the most. So good work. Enjoy the game tomorrow, mate, and I will see you for week 9, which you said last week we're going to do a couple of little extra things in there.
Yeah, week 9 special episode. Halfway through the season, we'll end up picking our 2 teams that are in the Super Bowl. Might even pick the Super Bowl score just for the fun of it. MVPs.
And probably bet on it if we're picking it.
MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive, Rookie, all that, all the fun stuff. It's going to be a great episode.
Yep. All right. See you then.
Catch you, mate.